You want to start out in the ICU. It's possible. You can do it. Trust me. Hi guys, how are you? Welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me. If you're new, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below as well as the little bell so that you will be notified every time I post a new video. So I am here to talk to you guys about being a new grad in the ICU. Now, I have gotten a lot of questions, comments on previous videos. If you guys have followed my channel for a while, you will know that I started out my nursing career as a new grad in the ICU at the Mayo Clinic. Now, although I am no longer a new grad and no longer at the Mayo Clinic, I still have things that I want to talk to you guys about, tips, tricks, things like that, especially for my nursing students out there that will be graduating pretty soon and you want to start out in the ICU. It's possible. You can do it. Trust me. So, if you guys are interested in hearing how you can be a new grad in the ICU, tips, tricks, how to go about it, that's basically what we're here to talk about. So, keep watching. Okay guys, so first and foremost, if you're new to my channel, welcome. Just to give you guys a little backstory, I am a ICU nurse in the Air Force, but my nursing career started out as a new grad in the ICU at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. I've got tons of videos on that. You can go all the way back down to my channel and find some of those videos. I will try to link a few of them in the cards section if you have not seen them. But that's kind of what prompted this video, because I had some people commenting and sending me emails and things like that, just wanting a little bit more in-depth detail on how that process happened and how, they could go about it and just, tips and things. So that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. So when I was in nursing school, first of all, I knew personally that I wanted to go into the ICU. I just knew it for whatever reason. I just knew labor and delivery wasn't for me, peds wasn't for me, the ER wasn't for me. I just knew I wanted to be in the ICU. And I knew that upon graduation, I was not going to work in any unit besides the ICU. Now you might be thinking, sis, you're extra. Yeah, okay, I am extra, I admit it. But I also knew that it was a possibility and it could happen. Now, fast forward almost 4 years, the prevalence of new grads in the ICU is expanding. But back then, it wasn't a huge thing to see a lot of new grads in the ICU. So I even knew that for this to be accomplished, I might have to move out of my state, which I did. I'm originally from South Carolina, so I moved to Minnesota because the opportunity presented itself. That's tip number one. If you know that it's something that you want, you hold on to that and you keep in mind that you might have to move for the opportunity. As a nursing student, of course, we know your resume is going to consist of a lot of clinical hours. When you are rotating through your clinicals and you get to the point where you're in the ICU, make sure you utilize those experiences and network, because if that unit accepts new grads, that could be a possibility for you upon graduation. And then also, way before you even start graduating, start looking online, at local hospitals and see if there are any in your city or in your state that will accept new grads in the ICU. And they will tell you either right in the title, it will say new grads welcome, new grads accepted. It will tell you in the description, new grads only, anything along those lines. And then also think about possibly expanding your search, because sometimes, like I said, you will have to go outside of your comfort zone. Like I said, I went from South Carolina to Minnesota. So another thing I want to say about new grads starting out in the ICU, you have to understand that it's actually a huge accomplishment, because I know, speaking from my perspective, I moved to Minnesota. I literally was the only African American female on the unit, and I was told multiple times that being a new grad in the ICU was a pretty big deal, because I worked with a lot of older nurses basically, and they had not started out in the ICU. They had to get there over time. So you have to pretty much show who you are. You have to be able to understand that there's going to be moments of vulnerability. You have to be willing to accept correction. You have to be willing to ask questions. You have to understand that if you are hired into that position and you realize that it's not going to work out for you, you need to be honest. I remember there was one incident where there was an individual that was also hired and it did not work out for him, and he was removed from the unit. And you just have to understand that they are watching you, okay? So some tips that I have for you if you are a new grad and you're willing to start out in the ICU. Like I said, network. When you're in those clinical rotations, make sure you're networking with nurse managers, make sure you're networking with doctors, make sure you're networking and letting your professors know, this is what you're looking for. Make sure you're, sprucing up that resume. Make sure you're expanding your search when it comes time for you to start applying for jobs on your own. And then also understand that a lot of these new grad ICU positions are going to come with nurse residency programs, which I was a part of, and I actually strongly advocate for, because you're going to be part of like a cohort or a group, so you're not alone. And you also get fundamental knowledge of the hospital. You get fundamental nursing knowledge. You just get a lot of leadership, mentorship. So I highly recommend the nurse residency programs as well. Okay, so you may be wondering, okay, well, you moved from South Carolina to Minnesota, so what was your interview process like? So I had a webcam interview because, like I said, I was interviewed by the nurse manager of the unit at that time and someone in the hiring department, I believe. And of course, I was still in South Carolina at the time, so I had a webcam interview. I had everything super professional, like a plain, solid background. I was professional, everything was professional because it was on the webcam. Because a lot of times they're not going to, fly you in for an interview. You will have an interview most likely over webcam. That's usually how it is if you're from out of state. A lot of companies will give you either a sign-on bonus or they will help you with some sort of moving expense or reimbursement. A lot of these things you'll want to talk about in your new hire contract. And then what you also want to understand is there are commitments. So they're putting a lot of time and effort into hiring you as a new grad, having you, move, of course, if this is going to be an out-of-state move. So you do have to understand that there are commitments that are made, because hiring someone, that's a lot of effort. Now, as far as me, I was there for over a year, but I left for the military, so that was a little bit understandable, of course. But just understand that there are going to be commitments made. So ultimately, I just wanted to sit down and encourage you all and tell you that if you are a nursing student and you're wanting to be a new grad in the ICU, it is possible. You just have to make sure that that is the goal that you have in mind, and just dotting your I's and crossing your T's. It will be hard, I'm not going to lie, but if you just stick with that goal that you have in mind, there will be an opportunity for you. And then, like I said, some of my older videos that I have talking about my experiences at Mayo Clinic, being a new grad in the ICU, I will link a few of those in the cards section just to kind of help you a little bit further. But if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments section. I will try to respond to them the best that I can. Hope this video has been helpful. Let me know, like I said, in the comments section. And as always, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.